There's never been such a good time as this for you to become an investor in GRZ bonds. Last year, we had the Investor Portal, a platform where you can log in, create your account, and start investing in Zambian government bonds. Beginning January this year, we had a new issuance method, the ability for you to buy government bonds at par value rather than at a discount, which seemed to be a little bit confusing to some investors. These reasons and so many others make it the best time for you to become an investor in Zambian government bonds, GRZ bonds. Today, I want us to look at the 5 things you need to consider before you can even put money in GRZ bonds. What are the 5 most important factors that you should be considering from my perspective? You may also have your own views in terms of the most important factors to consider, but I would like to hear from you in the comments section below. Before I proceed, I would like to encourage you to subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button. It is at the bottom. Click subscribe right now. It is very important for you to become a subscriber because this allows me the opportunity to produce more videos for you such as this, and not just the ones where I am doing a live interview with ZNBC during the Ndalama Insights radio program. So it's extremely important that you actually subscribe so that I can see the value and buy out time to produce a video such as this, which takes a little bit of time and is a little bit more complicated in terms of editing. So if you've been watching, you've been coming back here, you're not a subscriber yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Today could be the day. Click subscribe right now so that we can blow up this channel and get a wider coverage. That's the essence. Now, let's get started. The top 5 things you need to consider before you can even drop a single kwacha into the GRZ bonds. The first thing you need to understand is the structure of government bonds. There are 3 things that I want you to always remember when it comes to government bonds. The first thing is that government bonds are called fixed income investments. This is because they will always pay you a coupon rate that is fixed. So the first feature of a government bond is the fixed coupon rate. The second feature is the face value. The face value is also a fixed amount. Then finally, we have the price of the bond or the value of the bond. These 3 things are very important in terms of how a bond is structured. You need to understand them because understanding them will allow you to see how your investment in the bond is performing, particularly when it comes to the secondary market. So I've mentioned the coupon rate, the price, as well as the face value. The coupon rate and the face value will never change whether you are buying the bond directly from the issuer, the Bank of Zambia in our case, or in the secondary market. However, the price of the bond changes when it's trending on the secondary market. So what do I mean by secondary market? Is there a primary market? Yes, there is. The primary market is the bond issuer. In this case, it is the Bank of Zambia. If you buy a bond directly from the person who owns the rights to this bond, we say that you are buying it in the primary market. If you want to buy a bond in Zambia, many of us know that we have to create a CSD account and then buy the bond through the BOZ, now through the investor portal. When you are doing that, you are buying the bond on the primary market. When you buy the bond on the primary market, one thing to remember is you are buying it at par value. This has been effective since January 2024. Par value simply means that you are buying the bond at the same price as the face value or the nominal value. So when the bond matures, the amount you are going to pay for the bond is the amount you are going to get back, as long as you are not trading on the secondary market. So the same price that you paid is the same value you are going to get when the bond matures. That is what we refer to as the par value. Previously, we used to buy bonds at a discount. This was a price less than the face value. I will not go into details on that. If you want further details, you can watch a comprehensive video that I did when I started out on this journey of understanding this world of finance in terms of bonds and as it applies to my personal finances. You can watch that video up here. It's a video that I produced a few years ago. So, and it really speaks about the old issuance method. The new issuance method, you can also find other videos if you watch the entire playlist. It goes into the details in terms of this new issuance method that was effective on 1st January 2024. When you buy the bond from the primary market, you are buying it at par value. However, when you start selling your bond on the secondary market is the market where bondholders are able to buy and sell each other's bonds. So we are not buying and selling straight from the Bank of Zambia, but we are exchanging as investors. And this is what we call the secondary market. So when you are buying and selling bonds on the secondary market, the price differs. It depends on the performance of the economy at that particular point. There are certain factors that affect the price of the bond. Remember, when you bought the bond on the primary market through the Bank of Zambia, you're always buying it at par value. However, on the secondary market, you can actually buy it at a price which is less, or at a price which is higher than the par value. So the very first thing you need to understand is how the bond is structured. Even if you are buying the bond on the secondary market, you will always get the same face value upon maturity, and you always get the same coupon income. The only thing that might differ if you bought the bond on the secondary market is that you could buy it at a premium or you could buy it at a discount. Inversely, if you are the seller, you could sell it at a discount or you could sell it at a premium. So that's the only difference. Let's look at the second thing you need to consider. As an investor, you always need to consider your exit plan. As I'm investing in this bond, what am I trying to achieve? And this ties into your financial goals as well. I always encourage you to reconsider your investment or financial goals whenever you are talking about any kind of investment, not just the government bonds, by the way. In fact, an investment plan is comprehensive. You've already thought about where you are going to spend your money. So if you think about a pie chart, you've already allocated to say 60% of money will be sitting under shares, 20% will be sitting under bonds, 20% will be sitting in property. This is how you need to start thinking about the entire investment journey. If you have investment goals, you also need to understand your exit plan, because this affects what tenure you invest. How long should you keep the money with Bank of Zambia? Because the second consideration is the liquidity of your investment. When do you want your money back? Do you want your money back in 2 years' time, 5 years' time, perhaps 10 years or 15 years' time? Because that affects your liquidity in terms of how easily you can sell the bond and recover your cash back. What you need to understand here is, when it comes to Zambian government bonds, we've got two types of bonds that might affect your liquidity. We've got bonds that are called benchmark bonds. These are the 3-year, 5-year, and 10-year bonds. These bonds are referred to as benchmark bonds. What it simply means is that Bank of Zambia can decide to add on new bonds on the same serially numbered bond. So the same bond number, Bank of Zambia can decide to add on some more bonds to increase its volume. That way it becomes much more liquid. And the secondary market, we expect that we can have a number of buyers and sellers because it is highly liquid. So if your focus is on liquidity, am I able to sell my investment in this bond quickly if I ever needed my money? You need to look at benchmark bonds. The other bonds are not benchmarked, meaning that once Bank of Zambia issues them, that's it. The quantity will remain fixed for the duration of the bond. So as you're making a decision with regards to which bond should you buy, let's say if you're choosing between the 7-year or the 5-year bond. The 5-year bond is a benchmark bond. The 7-year bond is not benchmark, meaning that the 5-year bond, Bank of Zambia could say maybe next month or whenever they decide to, that is up to them to say, we are going to increase the volume on this 5-year bond. When you buy the 5-year bond, it means that you stand a better chance of liquidating or getting back your money on the secondary market if you ever wanted to. However, if you bought the 7-year bond, the quantity is fixed as advertised in the prospectus. So if your interest is in liquidity, your second consideration is whether this bond is benchmarked or not benchmarked, because it affects the liquidity or quantity of the bonds that are available on the market. The third thing you need to consider is your yield to maturity. If you intend to buy a bond and hold it until its maturity, you don't need to worry about yield to maturity. What is yield to maturity? Yield to maturity is simply the overall return that you are going to make on this bond for its life cycle. So if you bought a 10-year bond, what is the return on your investment that you are going to make for the entire 10 years if you hold on to this bond? If you are going to hold on to this bond that you've bought on the primary market until it matures, no need to worry about the yield to maturity. However, if you are going to sell it on the secondary market, you need to worry about the yield to maturity, or rather, not really worry. You actually need to observe how the yield to maturity is moving. Your yield to maturity, which is your overall return, is affected by the interest rate, in that if interest rates are going up, it means that the value of your bond, the bond that you're holding right now, is going to come down. As a result, your yield to maturity is going to come down because interest rates have gone up. So depending on the performance of the economy, your yield to maturity can go up or down. And this is something you need to watch. And why do you need to watch this? Because you should already have a set or target yield to maturity that you're trying to achieve. And where you realize that your yield to maturity has come down, you may need to sell your investment in this bond. So you need to be observant in terms of the current yield to maturity, as well as there's current yield as well as the yield to maturity. So you need to be observant of these two indicators. The fourth thing that you need to consider is the risk of the bond. Every investment has a risk, as you know. When it comes to bond investments, we've got very particular risks that are unique to bonds. We've got credit risk, the ability of the issuer to pay you your money back, including the coupon rates. For local Zambian bonds, this is really minimal, because as everybody knows, Bank of Zambia can simply print the kwachas and pay you back, even though that also has an effect on inflation. But if it had to come to the West, they can do that to pay the local bondholders. This is different from the foreign bondholders, by the way. And so credit risk, you can consider it. I'm not going to spend much time on the credit risk. The other risk is interest rate risk. This is where I want to speak a bit more. Interest rate risk is the risk that the value, the price of the bond can go up or down depending on the economy, or depending on the changes in the interest rate itself. So let me give an example. Supposing you bought a 10-year bond last year and the interest rates at that time were 25%. And then this year, interest rates have gone up to 28%. What do you think is going to happen to the value of the bond that you bought last year? Because interest rates have gone up to 28%, it means that newly issued bonds will be issued at competitively. The competitive bidders will not ask for less than 28%. So we expect that the coupon rate will fetch around 28% competitively, because the competitive bidders will ask for a comparative rate that's on the market. So they may ask for 28%. So if the newly issued bonds, the coupon rate is going at 28%, what it means is that the value of your bond, the bond that you bought last year, which was at 25%, has gone down, because newly issued bonds can fetch higher coupon incomes. So investors that want to buy bonds will now ask themselves, why should I buy your bond, which is going to be giving me a coupon of 25%, compared to a newly issued bond, which is going to be giving me 28%? Therefore, if you are an investor that wants to sell your bond for whatever reason, maybe you need cash for emergencies or whatever has come up, now you need to liquidate or sell off that bond. What it means is you will have to sell that bond at a discount for you to make it attractive to the investor. So you have to sell it at a price less than what you yourself bought it for. So that is what we say, buying it at a discount. Inversely, what might happen is that interest rates can come down. So last year you bought your bond at 25%. This year, interest rates have come down to, let's say, 20%. What does that mean in terms of the value of your bond? It's much more valuable, right? You've got a bond, you're holding a bond that is paying coupon incomes at a rate of 25%. Everybody will want your bond. They will not want a bond that is paying a lesser price, which is 20%. Therefore, if you are going to sell the bond on the secondary market, it is going to sell at a premium. So this is how interest rates affect the price of the bond on the secondary market. They say interest rates and the prices of the bond have got an inverse relationship. Where interest rates are going up, prices of the bonds are coming down. Where prices of the bonds are coming down, interest rates are going up. That is an inverse relationship. And that is another consideration you need to keep a look on when you are considering investing in government bonds. If I ever had to sell my bond on the secondary market, what's the effect? How will interest rates affect my investment? So another thing you need to consider is that longer term investments are affected much more by changes in interest rates compared to shorter term investments. This is because of the time value of money. Money that you have today is worth much more than money that you are going to have 5 years from now, even worse, or whatever, 10 years from now. So the longer you expect to get money back, the more value it's going to lose. And so even as you consider buying GRZ bonds, this is something you need to consider, the length or the tenure of the bond, because that will affect the value, the purchasing power. In terms of kwachas, you will get the kwachas that are shown on the coupon, on the coupon rates will be the same, the face value will be the same, but the buying power, the longer you invest the money, the lesser the buying power. I hope you understand that because of inflation. So that is the other consideration. I think let me talk about the final risk, especially when it comes to Zambian bonds, GRZ bonds. There's a risk that you need to always look out for that is called the core risk. For the 7-year, 10-year, 15-year bonds, Bank of Zambia says they've got a right to redeem these bonds. What this simply means is they can say, we are going to pay you off your face value amount plus coupons up to that point, and that's it. The story ends. We've got a right to do that as long as this bond has served 60% of its life. What does this mean for you? This simply means that you are faced with a reinvestment risk. If Bank of Zambia had to redeem or call back this bond, the 7-year bond, for instance, what it means is you might not have another opportunity to get the same coupon income at the same rate. So you are faced with the reinvestment risk. When you get your money back, you may not be able to reinvest it in another investment, giving you the same rate of return. So these are the 5 things you need to consider when you want to buy a GRZ bond. They're very important factors, and they're factors that we're going to dive into when we are covering our Learn About Stocks and Bonds training workshop. For this month, this workshop is on the 16th and 17th of May. And I hope you've already registered. For those that have registered, thank you so much for registering for this workshop. If you haven't yet registered, you can contact me on 0977-424-5604 and join us. It's just the next week that we are going to do this training workshop. I don't know what you think. What other factors do you think are important to consider as an investor in GRZ bonds? I would like to hear your views. Drop your comments in the comment section below. And a million thank yous to those of you that have already subscribed to my channel. For those that haven't subscribed already, consider subscribing by clicking the subscribe button. It is at the top, it is up here. Click subscribe right now. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.